Well, we are so glad to have this, our final service of summer, be also the final testimony. It has been such a blessing to hear all the testimonies from our congregation this summer, to hear people's lived experience of faith. And so, for our final summer worship service today, I want to invite Lori Celentano to come forward for our final testimony of where she has seen God.
Um, I'm Lori, and I'm happy to be here this morning to share a few experiences in my life where I believe God was present. At a young age, I had a curiosity about many things, and God was always one of them. I thought the questions were simple and could easily be answered. What did God sound like? What did God look like? Did God have a smell? Would I know God when I felt God? Was God always watching me? Was God to be feared? So I grew up in Falmouth, Mass on Cape Cod, and I was raised with two brothers and one sister, a mother and a father. We were baptized, we were all baptized and raised Catholic, and we attended weekly catechism classes until my parents separated and later divorced when I was around 11. This is when I believe my lack of interest in church began, and I lost interest in getting answers to my questions about God. I became a disobedient and hard to manage teenager who no longer felt the need to follow rules or attend church. When Pastor Anna asked the question about where we feel God has been present in our lives, it got me thinking about a few of my own experiences. Some sort of guide always directing me and letting me know they were there, even though I stopped looking. I've had several experiences in my life where I felt something directing and guiding my direction. But for today, I'll share just 3 moments in my life where I believe God was present. The first experience I recall is when I was around 22. I moved from Cambridge to Watertown and was driving home early morning on Memorial Drive. Some of you may know this road as a 2-lane, one-way road, taking you in and out of Boston to various suburbs. My friend Jana, who was in the front seat, had a bit more fun than I did, and we'll say she was napping. It was about 1 a.m., and there were no other cars on the road. There was no other cars on the road. As we're driving home, I kept hearing a tiny voice telling me to move over. I heard it a few times and thought it was the radio. I checked the radio. Nope, the radio was not on, and Jana was still asleep. The voice was persistent and it kept getting louder, and finally it yelled to me to move over. I did as I was asked, mostly out of shock, like when someone's behind you and you didn't know they were there. I just couldn't identify where the sound was coming from, and I was not really sure why I changed lanes. I just did it. There was no one behind me or in front of me. It had just been seconds that a car driving the opposite way came the wrong way on that road. Well, on this day, I believe that is what God sounded like. God was loud and clear, and he got my attention and changed my direction. Fast forward 4 years, my second experience. I'm 26 and I'm working for a publishing company in Newton. I'm working with a great boss who got me on the right path. She said I had potential and wanted me to stop the late nights out going in Boston. She encouraged me to go to school, held me accountable to herself and to myself. So I started to show up and do a good job, not just show up. She became my mentor and a dear friend, and we worked together for 5 great years. It is because of Cheryl Mantia and her guidance that I completed several certificate programs and was promoted to assistant credit manager. I was on the right track, moving in the right direction. I stopped going out and partying and was happy. I had come full circle from a wild and unfocused 22-year-old teenager to a homebody who liked to bake and play softball. I met a great guy with a stable family. Life was good. I was good. Unfortunately, we all know that life can change quickly. And on October 1st, 1986, Cheryl had a massive heart attack and died at the age of 38. I was angry, and for a few days, I tried to escape my emotions by going back down the bumpy road I just put behind me. My compass was gone, and I was lost. I was getting ready for Cheryl's service with a massive hangover and was ironing my clothes, crying out to Cheryl and asking her how she could leave me. Why'd she go? What would I do now? Well, I get goosebumps today when I remember the room filling up with Cheryl's perfume and the calm feeling that came over me. God or spirit guide let me know Cheryl did not leave me. She was right there, and I'd be okay. I was a little bruised and sad, but okay. On this day, I believe God smelled, and Cheryl is what God smelled like. Okay, my third experience, and this isn't the last, but it's the third. I moved to Walpole in 1990, lived at the same address ever since. I have 3 grown children, 2 of whom attended a cooperative nursery school right in this church called ECDC. As my kids got older, I'd occasionally go for a walk up Common Street and pass by this church and reflect on fond memories, great connections, and heartwarming events with my kids growing up here. My friend Jen, who I met through ECDC, attended this church regularly and spoke highly of the congregation and the leadership. Jen also told me of a protester in front of the church and the hurtful messages she was displaying. I was polite, but really had no interest in church or learning more about the protester. The connection I felt was not with God or this church. It was of a special time and space I shared with my children, and I never gave it a second thought. It was not until about 6 years ago that I was taking a walk up Common Street on Sunday morning, and I came across the very person Jen mentioned. She was holding a sign and a microphone. The sign said, "God hates pride." And the protester was reading hateful interpretations of passages from the Bible into the microphone. She was doing all of this in God's name. Well, this got my attention, and it stopped me in my tracks. I began to engage in a conversation that was alarming and hurtful. There were several people on the street that day trying to avoid her or trying to speak with her. I tried to speak with her and offer her a different view, my view on God. As I said, I did not have much of a relationship with God, but what I did know, her sign was wrong. God does not hate. I continued my attempt to reach her with kind words, and suggested she do something good in God's name. I even offered to help her find something good to do and people to help. Sadly, she was not interested in my suggestions or having a conversation. I continued to follow her and tried, I tried to get her attention, standing in front of her, only to have her turn around and walk the other way. I kept after her. I was determined to change her views, or at least listen to mine. She just spoke over me and into her microphone as I tried to convince her that any God would be about love. I told her a few times that I was certain God would not be pleased with her words or her deeds. After a time, and to my sadness, I could not convince her to put down her sign, change her words, or help someone in need. I ended our interaction politely and thanked her for bringing awareness to this church, a church I really knew nothing about, but I was going to visit. So I walked up the stairs to Brad Parsons, who's not here today, opening the doors and into the familiar welcome. Welcome to all. Welcome to those who have not no church home. Welcome to everyone. Wow. Welcome to me, a questioning believer. That is what God wanted me to say. On that day, I believe God looked like a protester and directed me inside. God is love. God is here, and God looks like all of you. Thank you.